Right, let's get stuck into it. This one's going to be a good one. Hello guys, and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to manage your money like the rich. And what I want to do in this video, I'm going to go a little bit off-piste. I've got some things up here to just remind me of what to talk about, but I'm going to talk about how people intentionally manage their money, a little bit about the mindset behind it, give you some ideas of investments. It's going to be quite a wholesome video, I think. So settle down, get in for the long run. We're going to go through everything we can on this video. And before we get into that, as always, if you give me a big like, it massively helps me out with the algorithm. Remember, I don't upsell any course, so if you want to subscribe, there's no hard sell on this channel. We just try and give you as much impartial information without holding anything back as we possibly can, so that you can make financial decisions that are better for you. So guys, let's get stuck into it and let's go through how to manage your money like the wealthy. And we're going to start off with the number 0 I put on here. And first of all is to maximize your income. The average salary in the UK is about £31,000. Now, if you're looking to try and maximize your income, there's lots of ways you could do it. You could have a side hustle. As many of my viewers know, I run a taxi business over in Oxfordshire. I know that we've got people who work 2 nights a week, Friday and Saturday night. They earn about £300 a week additional on top of whatever their annual salary is elsewhere. I mean, that's nearly, what, £1,200 to £1,500 a month additional money? So that really is one way of maximizing your income. But maybe you've got a skill that you could sell. Maybe you've got a passion that you could turn into a business. There's lots of ways and there's lots of videos on how to maximize your income. But if you're going to manage your money, the first thing is to have some money, right? So I think maximizing income is the first thing you should do. And if I was going to start out and go, right, I'm serious about getting wealthy, the first thing I do is look at my income and look at how I could maximize that so that the number I have to start with is as high as possible. So maximize income, that's number 1 on my list, or 0, because I've got my 5 rules below. So the first thing you do with your money is to pay the future you. And I'm saying over 10%. And I think in The Richest Man in Babylon, it says, you should have a minimum of 10%. Dave Ramsey, I think, teaches 15%. Lots of people teach different numbers. Grant Cardone, I think he says 50%. But I think over 10% is the number you really need to be starting with. And once you make that commitment, that's the first thing you need to be paying out. And we'll go into some of the investment classes later on in the video when we get down to how you're going to earn the passive income for your fund money, but paying future you is going to be absolutely key to growing wealth. The second one is the biggest payment you're likely to have, and that's the house payment. 25 to 35% of your income maximum should be going on your house payment. If you're spending 50, 60, 70%, it's likely you're going to have no money really to pay future you, to invest, to create passive income, all the things you need to do in order to become wealthy. So maybe you have too much house for your salary at the moment. Maybe you need to look at how you're going to reduce that expense. There's many ways to do it. If you're on a mortgage, maybe you can look at a different term. Maybe you can do interest only. There's lots of ways that you could potentially reduce that. If you're renting, maybe you're renting more house than you need. Maybe you're a single person, you could rent a room. I know when I started out building my wealth, I rented a room in a HMO. I then bought a house and rented out the 2 spare bedrooms. So essentially, still living in a HMO. But this house payment thing, I think, is really key, because that's such a large proportion of your income. If you can keep that to 25 to 35%, you're going to be on to a winner. And then the bills on top of that, we know food, electricity, gas, all of that stuff costs a significant amount of money. And 15 to 25%, when I kind of worked it out in my head, I think that's where you need to be, somewhere in that region. That should keep those expenses well below that sort of 50% kind of number. So half of your money, you're still going to have every month. So if you wanted to Grant Cardone it and absolutely smash 50% of the money that you earn straight into index funds, into property, into investing, into creating wealth, then you're going to absolutely supercharge your journey. Most people are only ever 5 to 10 years away from becoming incredibly wealthy. But it is 5 to 10 years. It's never 1 to 2 years. And most people want to hear is 1 to 2 years. But I think watching videos like this, it really helps, right? It cements and solidifies that belief that over time, I mean, if you look at my portfolio, since July 2021, I had about £3 million worth of property. Today, I've got about 3.2 million. That's not because I bought anymore, it's because the market's moved on consistently. And on this channel, we track it every month when we do the house price update, how much the house prices have gone up or down by, and they go in both directions. Fortunately for me, over the last sort of 8-9 months, it's only been one direction. So I've gone from 3 million to 3.2. That is time, right? right? It takes a lot of time. It took me 10 years to get to £3 million. The next 200 grand came in 9 months. Took no time at all. So it's an exponential growth curve. It comes like this wealth, it really does. And the first sort of 3 or 4 years only gets you, it makes it look like it goes down there. Let's change that. Let's get some towel. I've drawn that really badly. That's more like it. But that might be the first 3 or 4 years. That might be 5, 6 years. That might be 7, 8 years. And then suddenly this exponential growth, this snowball takes effect and you're absolutely killing it. And the money's just going up faster than you could possibly imagine. And that's both in this and in index funds. It's in all investment classes because it compounds. And I think it was Einstein that said compounding is the 9th wonder of the world or 8th wonder of the world. Please don't quote me, I'm terrible at this. Let's get on to the next thing, cars. Now this is a big expense for a lot of people. And I've been playing this in my mind about what I think the rule should be. So this is not a rule by anyone else, this is my idea. I think 5% of your net worth is the maximum you should ever spend on a car. So if you're worth 1 million, you can have a 50k car. And I think that's probably sensible. I think if you're worth 1 million, you can't have a 100 grand car. And if you're worth 100 grand, you definitely can't have a 50k car. Like half of your net worth, it would be ridiculous. And in the same token, I think only about 5% of your income can go on your car payment. So if, for example, you're choosing to use a PCP or a lease or whatever it is that you choose is right for you, I think that can be no more than 5%. So if you earn £3,000 a month, 150. That should be the maximum that you should be spending on your car. I think a depreciating asset like that, it can be a real drag on wealth building. And there is, for me, there is absolutely an exception to that. And this is the next bit that we're going to go on to, the fun money. Because if it comes from passive income, it's all good. We can do what we want. Once the money's coming in from the passive income, I'm fine with that going on a car. I'm fine with that going on holidays and all the rest of the experiences that makes life so wonderful. But I think it has to come from passive income. So let's get onto that and let me give you some ideas of where you can invest your money. Because at the end of the day, this is the good bit of the video, right? This is the bit where we get to talk about what it's all for. Why did we maximize our income? Why did we spend 5 years growing our wealth to get to this point and another 5 years to get to this point? What was the whole point of that? Well, it was to create fun money. And more than anything, as somebody who's made millions, lost money, had to readjust my lifestyle several times, I can tell you the journey is fantastic. But also it's not really fun money, it's just options, right? Like once you've got a 30 grand car, a 50 grand car's a bit better. Once you've got a 50 grand car, a 100 grand car is a bit better. But we're talking 5%. You double the cost, but it's not double as good. I can tell you that, cast iron guarantee. I've always found that the relationship between the amount that you spend on the experience or the item has a reduction in the amount of value you get. So for example, it kind of goes like this, and it does get better with cost, but it's not significantly better. Whereas from here, no car, to having a car is significantly better. To having a prestige mark, significantly better again. But then it really does reduce the amount of extra pleasure you get each bit you go up. That's been my experience, and I've spent 8 grand a month on a house. I spent 2 grand a month on a house. Was the 8 grand a month house better? Yeah. Was it significantly better? Was it 4 times better? No, nowhere near 4 times better. But it was better. It was probably 10 to 15% more happiness. So we're getting to the fun money bit. Let's get back to the point and let's talk about that. How are you going to create passive income? What are the tactics you could use? Now for me, there's only really 2, and anyone who watches this channel knows that these are the things I believe in: index funds and property. Index funds are essentially just companies. So I believe in large companies globally that they will continue to make money. And I believe that property, people will continue to want to rent them and live in them. And both of those 2 things give me a good slice of whichever country I'm investing in, their sort of GDP. So for me, those are the things I'm interested in. Now, if I'm investing in index funds, I've probably got a little bit less money than if I'm investing in property. And maybe I've only got, I don't know, £500 a month. Now, there's no real way to put £500 a month into property. I'll be opening an ISA and I'd be investing in these sort of ETFs. And I've listed out a few, and I'm a big believer in a little bit for now and a little bit for later. So my ISA And I understand this isn't the way to build the wealth as big as possible, but it is the way to get some payments as well now and enjoy a little bit for now as well. So these three actually feature quite heavily in my ISA. The FEM, which is the Vanguard Emerging Markets Fund, at the moment that's dividending out at 2.46%. So if you invest £10,000 in there, you're going to get £246 every year as a dividend, and that's going to grow over time, or that would be the expectation. Obviously markets go up and down, but ultimately the expectation would be, if you take a long-term view, that will grow over time. The next one's a global high income fund. So this invests basically in companies that do good dividend yields, and that's VHYL, and that currently has 3.2% as a dividend ratio, and that's globally facing. So most of its holdings are in America, but it's got everything from Germany, UK, lots of Europe, lots of Asia, but it's globally weighted. Dividending out 3.2%, that means if you invest £10,000, you're going to get £320 every year. In your ISA, it's going to be completely tax-free for the rest of your life. VUKE, that is the FTSE 100, 3.96 is its current yield as it is today. And again, if you invest £10,000, you get £396 every year. Now, why do I think that that's a really good place to start? Well, basically because you can do it with such a small amount of money. If you're using Hargreaves Lansdown and you're doing an investment every month, the fee for buying into these is only £1.50, so very, very small. The fee for holding them is only 0.45%, up to a maximum of £45 per year. So, because they're ETFs, you're only going to pay £45 per year in your ISA, regardless of how big that ISA is. So if I have £1 million worth of these funds, I'm still only paying £45 a year in fees to my platform. And then on average, I think this one's about 0.2%, that one's about 0.25%, and that's about 0.06. So you're looking at, if you had a portfolio of maybe 70%, 20%, 10%, something like that, you'd probably be looking at an average fee of somewhere about 0.2%, something like that. So very, very, very low fee base. That is the way that I would get started, and I've got a lot of money, well, not lots, but 6 figures in there. In terms of property, I've got a huge amount of money in comparison, and that really is just the fact that it's leveraged. So my stake in here is probably only about £1 million, and then the other £2 million is mortgage debt. So I've got £1 million worth of equity, and that I can expect to return somewhere between 8% on a single let, 15% on a HMO, and everything in between, you know. So 8 to 15% ROI would be about where you're going to be. The minimum, however, is 30 to 50k. So if you're just starting out and you've not got 30 to 50k, this probably isn't going to be a game that you can get started with. You're probably going to want to look at index funds and go, well, how do I just get started with earning passive income? And believe me, I believe it's massively addictive. Once I started seeing the returns, I just wanted to do more and more and more. And I think that that really did supercharge how much I was willing to do, how much I was willing to maximize my income, how I was willing to work the extra day, the extra 2 days, the extra evening in order to boost this up as high as I possibly could. And ultimately by doing that, I then was able to start funneling money into property. And then from that, I was able to refinance property, buy more. And I'll do another video on how to grow the wealth. This is how to manage your money. So I think this is the key to starting. Once you've learned to manage your money, then it's how do you grow that money? And I'll do a second video. In fact, I'll do the video next Saturday on how to grow the money. So this was manage the money, maximize your income, make sure you pay future you a minimum of 10%, and 20, 30, 40% much better. House payments, 25 to 35%. Bill payments, 15 to 25%. What I haven't put in here, and I think is really important, is be intentional. Have the decision, make the decision, decide that the future you is incredibly important. And instead of buying things that you want, the fun money, buy things that will pay for the things you want in perpetuity for the rest of your life. So I think I'm going to leave you on that point, guys. Give this video a big like. It massively helps me out with the algorithm. I appreciate every single one of you. Subscribe, hit that bell notification if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week on Tuesday, and on Saturday we'll have the how to grow your money video. Cheers guys, see you soon.